Greetings and welcome to Learn Contacts for iOS, a video tutorial from themacu.com. These lessons are going to cover how to use the Contacts app that comes installed on every iPad and iPhone. The app allows us to view and edit contacts from different online accounts like iCloud, Google, or Yahoo. We're able to sync contacts between all our other Apple devices as well as the web. There's also a tutorial on the Contacts app for Mac. So if you also own a Mac, check out those lessons as well. In this tutorial, I'll be using both an iPhone and iPad for most of the lessons. To begin, we're going to go over the basic interface of the Contacts app on each device. On an iPad, the app is laid out into columns. Currently, I'm viewing my list of contacts on the left and the selected contact card to the right. Tap the sidebar button up here and the Lists column will slide in. This is where we can view different contact lists and accounts. Single tap on a contact to view their card in full screen. To get the list of contacts back, we can tap the sidebar button or swipe in from the left edge of the display. When it's done this way, the list column overlays the contact, and it will be hidden each time a new contact is selected. Switch to portrait mode on the iPad, and the contacts and list columns are overlaid. So neither one will stay on the display permanently as new contacts are selected. For these lessons, I'm going to be using the iPad in landscape orientation, usually with the column of contacts visible to the left side. On iPhone, we have the same column layout, but only a single column is visible at a time. Tap in the upper left or swipe in from the left edge to go back. This will work the same way in landscape mode on the iPhone as well. Tap and hold on a contact and we're going to be able to interact with it. Just single tap on a contact to view its full contact information. From contact settings, we can switch between showing last names or first names first in our contact list. We can also sort that list by last or first name. For these lessons, I'm going to have first name first with the contacts sorted by their last name. With that, let's get started on how to add and manage accounts. We're able to log into different contacts accounts and view those separately in our Contacts app. On my iPad right now, I'm signed in to two accounts that have contacts activated. One is via iCloud, and the other is from a Gmail account. We can view each of them separately here in the Lists column, or view all contacts to see the iCloud and Google contacts all at once. Use these turn-down triangles next to each account name to hide their lists. We can control what accounts are available from the Settings app. If I jump into iCloud settings and show all the apps using iCloud, we can see that Contacts is activated here. We can also get to this from Contact Settings and Accounts. Remember to tap iCloud and then Show All Apps. So let's turn off iCloud for contacts and delete the sync contacts from this iPad. Now in the Contacts app, only the 3 contacts from the Gmail account are available. I'm still signed into the iCloud contacts on my iPhone, so those are unaffected. The contacts were only removed from the iPad. We can quickly reactivate iCloud contacts on the iPad to get them back. This will work the same way for the Gmail contacts. We can add new accounts from contact settings as well. For the services listed, you just need a username and password. Tap Other, and we can add custom contacts accounts that will require more information from your IT department or provider. It's possible to move contacts between accounts using drag and drop. If I only wanted to use iCloud contacts, it's possible to move all 3 of the Gmail contacts into the All iCloud Contacts list. I can drag and drop one at a time, or tap on one, drag and hold, and then single tap on the other contacts that I want to bring over. Doing this will move all 3 of the Gmail contacts into the iCloud list. I could then deactivate the Gmail contacts account on both of these devices. Next up, we'll start adding and editing contacts. To create a new contact, tap the Add button here at the top of the Contacts column. That gives us a new card with several empty fields. Not every one of these fields needs to be filled. Just enter the information that you have or want to use for each contact. On the iPad, I'm going to add Tim Johnson as a contact. I have a lot of details for him, including the company he works for, a couple different phone numbers, emails, as well as both a home and work address. When entering each piece of information, we can assign a label to it. For his emails, I'll label one home and the other work. For his phone numbers, I can label one as his iPhone and then the other work. Or maybe it would make more sense to label it as his office number. To do that, I can add a custom label and enter office. Over on the iPhone, I'm just going to add a simple entry with a name, mobile phone number, and a photo. Notice that we're able to add photos from our library, take a photo with the camera, or add a memoji or emoji for that contact. When you've added all the information that you want to include for a contact, tap Done. Those two are added to my iCloud contacts and they'll be synced between the devices. To then edit a contact, just select it and tap the Edit button up here. If this contact's home number is changed, I can just tap on it to enter the new one. If they've gotten a third number, tap Add Phone to enter that new number. Under ring and text tone, we can change what sound's going to be played when this contact calls or sends a message. Single tap on a tone to listen to it. Leave it checked to set it as the tone for the selected contact. Turn on emergency bypass for a contact, and if they call when your device is silenced, it will still ring. So this is reserved for important people in your life. We can also add things to a contact such as a website, their birthday, how they might be related to you, which can mean family or professionally with terms like assistant or manager. The Notes field simply provides a spot to add some extra information. We can enter anything we want here, such as softball team member. Tap Add Field for even more options. So if you use a nickname for someone, that could be entered here, or we could add their job title. In the Contacts for Mac tutorial, we showed how we can convert a contact to represent a company rather than an individual with just a single click. In Contacts for iOS, we don't get that option. So we need to enter only the company name and not a name for an individual. When you do that, the image is an office building rather than initials. We can still add our own photo or emoji for a company. Next up, we'll look at how to import contacts. When setting up your device, a contact is going to be automatically created for you known as My Card. It will always be listed at the top of your contacts lists. The information included in My Card can be changed in contact settings. From here, I could change the My Info contact to any of my other saved contacts or make a brand new contact for it. If I switch this to Jeff Allen, now in the Contacts app, his information will be displayed as My Card. I'm going to switch that back to Warren. The information saved in your My Card entry can be used to autofill forms in Safari and other apps. In this example, we can just tap on the name field and then tap the Autofill Contact option here. Next, we can choose to fill in my home contact information or the work information. We can also customize what will be used in case a mix of home and work information might be needed. And finally, we could select another contact to autofill here. I'm just going to autofill my home information. So with a single tap, that's going to fill in my name, address, phone number, and email. If we reload this, we could single tap on each suggestion to autofill each field one by one. This is a bit more of a careful method when entering your information. Autofill will work the same way on the iPad. We can autofill all the contact information at once or do one field at a time. So having a My Card entry that contains accurate and relevant contact information can save time when needing to enter your details on your iOS devices. We can import contacts either when they're shared with us via messages or email, or if we have a vCard file that can then be imported to the Contacts app. Here on my iPhone, I have a contact that's been shared with me via messages. Tap, and then I can see and interact with her information. Danielle hasn't yet been added to my contacts yet though. To do that, I either need to create a new contact or add her information to an existing contact. I'm going to create a new contact for her. In the next panel, we can edit or add to the information that was shared. So if I know her birthday, I could enter that here. Then tap Done, and her contact information is saved. Over on the iPad, let's jump into the Files app. Here in my desktop folder, we have a VCF file or a vCard. When contacts are exported, this is the file type that's typically used. Tap to open it, and we only see one of the entries. Tap the Share button and Contacts to import the file, and now we can see that there are 4 contacts available here. Tap on each to view their information or import them one at a time. In this case, I'm going to add all 4 of these contacts at once. Tap Create New Contacts here to add them all at once. Those 4 business contacts are now available in my contacts list. Next up, we'll look at organizing contacts with lists and how we can export contacts. We can organize our contacts into lists in order to view and work with them more easily. Rather than scrolling or searching through a single list that might contain hundreds of contacts, we can move them into our custom lists. In the list column here, we can see that I already have one list called Coworkers. Tap the Add List button to create a brand new list. I'll call this one Friends, and I'll add one more called Local Businesses. Now I just need to start adding contacts into each list. Let's start on the iPad. With the list column displayed, I can just tap and hold for a moment and then drag and drop a contact over to a list. To grab multiple contacts, tap and drag one, hold it there, and with a free finger, tap on the contacts that you want to bring with it. We can drag and drop on an iPhone too. Tap, hold, and drag to pick up one or more contacts. Then, tap on the back button with a free finger and drop onto the list that you want to add the contact or contacts into. This can make adding several contacts into a list a really quick process. We can also add a contact to a list from their contact card. Scroll to the bottom and tap Add to List. Then select the list you want to add them to. Jeff has now been added to both the Coworkers and the Friends lists. Adding contacts to lists doesn't remove them from the All iCloud list. This is always going to contain every one of my contacts for this account. We can add contacts to multiple lists. If I add a list called Project, I can bring in a few of the contacts that are also in my Coworkers list. And I'll add another from my All iCloud list. Tap and hold on a contact and I can remove it from only this list. Notice we also have the option to delete the contact, which will remove the contact from the All iCloud list as well. Tap and hold on a list in the Lists column and we can delete it. Doing that will only delete the list, not the contacts within it. They will remain in the All iCloud list. We can also tap and hold onto a list to quickly email or message all the contacts in the list. Doing this will compose a new email with it addressed to everyone in the Coworkers list, as long as an email address is saved for each of them. Same with the new message option, as long as a phone number is saved for each contact in the list. If you have watched the Contacts for Mac tutorial, you might be wondering about smart lists, which contain contacts based on conditions that you set. Unfortunately, we can't create smart lists in iOS as of now. It's only possible to add contacts to standard lists in iOS. On an iPhone, the phone app is sort of an extension of your contacts. iPads don't have a phone app. Here across the bottom of the app, we have 5 tabs: Favorites, Recents, Contacts, Keypad, and Voicemail. The Contacts tab here is essentially the Contacts app within the phone app. We can move back to see all our lists, and when a contact is selected, we can actually edit it here. Of course, we can tap the phone icon or directly on a number here to begin a call, or tap an email address and we get jumped out to the Mail app, just as would happen from the Contacts app. Tap on an address and as you'd expect, we head out to the Maps app. Scroll to the bottom of a contact on the iPhone and notice we have an Add to Favorites button. This will appear from here in the Contacts tab in the phone app or within the Contacts app, but only on an iPhone. So let's add Jeff as a favorite. I most often call his iPhone number, so I'm going to select that as the favorite. That number will now be available over in the Favorites tab. So I can now just do a single tap to call that number, rather than needing to find Jeff's contact card and locating the number there. You can add an email or a number to send a message to that will be added to favorites. When tapped, they will then open the Mail or Messages app. To me, it seems odd to come into the phone app to then send an email or an iMessage though. So I usually only add phone numbers that I call in here. It's sort of like a speed dial list. When a number is favorited, you're going to see a star next to it in the Contacts app. We can only remove favorites from the Favorites tab in the phone app. Just swipe left on one to delete it. Like we just showed with the phone app, our contacts and lists can be utilized while we're in other apps. We can also add new contacts or add information to existing contacts from certain apps. I certainly won't cover all these possibilities in this lesson, but let's look at a few examples. From back in the phone app and the Recents tab, I have a number here that I have yet to assign to a contact. Tap and hold on it, and we can either add this number to an existing contact or create a new contact with this number. When adding this to an existing contact, I'll need to select who I want to add this number for, and then assign a label for the new number. Next, on the iPhone home screen, swipe down for Spotlight Search. If I enter a saved contact, their name should be one of the top results. I can then quickly tap to call, message, or FaceTime that contact. Tap and hold on a result here and we can select a certain number or address saved for that contact. If the contact has Apple Pay, we can select that option, which will bring us into the Apple Pay Messages app. I could now send or request money from Drew via Apple Pay. In the Mail app, when composing a message, tap on this Add Recipient button to bring up your contacts. Again, notice that we can access our lists from here. And in this case, any contact that I don't have an email address saved for is grayed out. When I do select a contact, only their saved email addresses are visible. Just tap to add an address into the message. Within emails that we've received, tap on the sender to see their contact information. If Lucas wasn't already saved as a contact, I could add him as one from here. In this case, I already have him saved, but Siri recognizes that there's a new phone number in the body of the email. Tapping Update will add that number to Lucas's contact information. We could also tap directly on the number here in the body of the email to add it to an existing contact or create a new contact with it. In the Calendar app, when we create new events, we can add invitees to them. I'll make a lunch event for next week, then scroll down to Invitees and tap the familiar Add button. Then just tap to invite contacts to this event. Invitees will be alerted to the event and have the opportunity to accept or decline the invitation. In Maps, we can search for saved contacts to quickly show their address or get directions to it on the map. Notice that we also have a Contacts button here in the result, so I can quickly view or edit all of his contact details from right here in the Maps app. So once we have contacts saved, they can then be accessed and utilized from several different apps within iOS. This can really save a lot of time in the long run versus not having saved contacts. Any of your contacts can be set as an emergency contact. Doing this will list those contacts on your medical ID, which we'll get to shortly. Emergency contacts will also receive a message when the emergency SOS function on your iPhone is used. This is accessed by pressing and holding the power button and the volume button on an iPhone, then sliding emergency SOS, or just continuing to hold down those two buttons. And if you have an Apple Watch, this can be done with a press and hold on its side button. So from here in Contacts on the iPhone, we can add anyone as an emergency contact. We get the option to designate how they're related to us. So I'm going to set Lucas as a friend. That will then display my medical ID. And as I scroll down, we can see Lucas is now set as an emergency contact. Tap Done, and now here in the contacts list, he has a medical icon next to his name, letting me know that he's an emergency contact. This is the number that's going to be contacted if I have an emergency. Now let's jump over into the Health app. From my profile here, we can access and edit our medical ID. Tap Edit, and we can add emergency contacts from here as well. I'm going to add Lisa. If you need to remove an emergency contact, that can be done here as well. Having a medical ID set up with the relevant information can be important in case of emergency. If emergency access is enabled for your medical ID, first responders will be able to access this information from the emergency button on your iPhone. This will appear on the number pad screen when the iPhone is locked. So even without a passcode, anyone can tap Emergency to make an emergency call or view your medical ID, which can display things like your blood type, allergies, and more. Learn the basics about the iPhone Health app in the overview tutorial that we've done for it on the MacU.com. We can share contacts and contact information in a few different ways. First, if you only want to share a single piece of information, such as a phone number, from here in Contacts, just tap and hold on it for a second, and we get the option to copy. Tap that, and now I can go paste this anywhere that I need to. At the bottom of a contacts entry, we're going to have the option to share the contact. We can share contacts via AirDrop, email, messages, and more depending on what apps you might have installed. We can also save to files, which will actually export the contact's VCF file. When you're sharing a contact, we're able to filter what fields to include. So if I'm sharing Jeff's contact with someone that's only going to need his work information, I could deselect all the fields and then just tap to add back the ones that I know that I need to include. I'm going to share this with Drew via iMessage. And when he receives it over on his iPhone, we can see it's only going to show those few work details of Jeff's that were shared. We can also share entire lists of contacts by tapping and holding on the list name and choosing Export. Before sharing, I could again filter what fields are included for all the contacts. Then, when sharing with Drew, he'll be able to view and add all the contacts or only the ones that he wants to keep. While viewing a contact's information, we have a Share My Location button. Tap, and we have three options for how long location data will be shared: indefinitely, until the end of the day, or for an hour. I typically will use the indefinitely option for close family members. When I want to keep track of friends while we're at an event or something like that, I'll choose till the end of the day or for an hour. So I'm going to share my location for the rest of today with Drew. Over on his iPad, he's going to get an alert. Tap, and he gets jumped into the Find My app. From here, Drew can choose whether or not to share his location as well. So now in the People tab of the Find My app, both Warren and Drew can see each other's location. We can stop sharing our location from here in the Find My app or from Contacts.